something to say, something to say.
Okay guys, how's it going? rhouse21 here, and this is my part 2 for my bearing swap series. Now, just to kind of fill things back in, the friendly people at Boca Bearings sent me a set of ceramic ball bearings for me to throw into Dizzy and do a benchmark of the ceramic bearings compared to the stock bearings to see how well they perform and how much of basically how much of energy savings or how much of efficiency improvement is probably the better way to look at it I get from going to these new bearings. So as you saw in the last video, I did the initial teardown. I removed the front clip off the car. So inside the front clip, you've got quite a bit of stuff, and there's bearings all over the place in here. So we are going to go ahead and pull this guy apart and tear it down, and then replace all the bearings we have. Now first off, let's do a little inventory. I should have did this at the beginning of the front, but let's go ahead and see what we've got in here. So this kit has a lot of bearings in it. So we've got these guys right here. You see right here from this angle. These are the guys for the for the bell cranks. So there's 4 bearings in here. Then you've got these guys and these guys. So basically, you've got this guy right here is the bearing that goes to the well, this is the bearing that goes to the slipper clutch. So I'll set this here to the side. And here you've got these guys. This is a set of 5. Here's the set of 2. So we've got inside this guy, we've got bearings that are inside the actual wheel axles. So there's the slashes are interesting because they have a large and a small bearing on each corner. So there's actually 8 bearings total supporting the wheels. Then you also have bearings that are inside the differentials, and you have these bearings that are inside the bell cranks. And we're going to be going after all of them. So, alright, so let me just go ahead and set these guys aside for a second. So they gave Boca, they gave me a really good hookup here. You know, I can't even deny. But this is a lot of work because, as you see, you know, you pretty much have to completely pull this thing apart in order to get to everything. It's not too bad, but you know, it's still, this isn't something that you're going to do in 15 minutes. So, all right, so let me just go ahead and take off the tires. And these are my Jayco foams. They've been up to, you know, about 65 miles an hour-ish, you know. So they're pretty nice set of tires. They do what I need to do. I was planning on using these to get me up to 100, but I changed my plans because I'm doing some other modifications to Dizzy, including the bearings to try to improve efficiency, and I'm finding that I've got a clearance issue with the Jaycos now. So it looks like I'm not going to be able to keep them in the plan. Alright, so this is something I forgot when I did my initial tools. It's always nice to have a flat blade of some sort around, like a standard screwdriver. So I happen to have one that's for my little kit. So the way I like to pop these guys out is just, you know, get underneath here, just give it a little bit of a twist, and it just pops right off. Now notice as soon as I say that, it's not popping right off. But here we go. This works a lot better if I actually have it in something. Get a little leverage on it. There we go. A little twist, it pops right off. And then we have the little stud here that holds this thing in place in order to hold the carrier in place. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, so let me go ahead and just go ahead and pull this guy off. And so needle-nose pliers is also your friend here, just to reach in and grab small things. Alright, let's do the other side. that off. Okay, and here we have a little stud. Stick him out. Now, there should also be a little washer in here, which you can kind of see right here inside. That guy needs to come off, so you just pull him out like that. And let me go ahead and get the other side as well. Now, you can kind of see Dizzy has been, let's just say, well loved. So there's a little bit of gunk and grime in there, which is why in the previous video I said I like to have a little toothbrush here to go through and to just knock off some of this stuff, so I'm keeping pieces clean as I go through. Let me go ahead and clean off the other side as well. Now, if I was intelligent, I probably would have pulled off the front bumper before I really start to crack in here, because I'm going to have to take that apart in order to get access to this. But I'll hold off on that for a minute. Okay, so now that this thing's free, you see the axles, they're free to float. So my grand scheme here is once I take off the bumper, it will come off, then I can once the bumper is off, then the A-arms can come right off, and then I can pull the suspension arms. Well, once the A-arms come off, I can pull the axles right out, and then get access to the bearings. So let's just go ahead and dive into that. Okay, so now the bumper just comes right off, just like that. Now, this is common for the slashes and for the rallies, where the bumper just is secured by 3 bolts on the bottom and 2 bolts on top. Now you've got this little guy underneath here. Now this is secured by this extra screw right there, this little retaining screw. Let's go ahead and get him off. And this is a smaller size, so I need to change the bit. Okay, and wherever I can, I like to just go ahead and put things back in just so that they don't get lost. So I'm just going to keep that guy just there for the time being. So now, as you see, we have the A-arm supported by these little studs, and they just slide right out like that. A little dirty, but no worse for wear. So now the A-arms just pull like that. So now I can just get access to the axle hubs, just like that. Nice and clean. And I didn't have to take off all the other bolts. Now I probably should have, just for the heck of it. But, you know, why make yourself extra effort? So now you can see down in here, you've got bearings for the sides. So you've got one on the outside, well, one on the inside and one on the outside right here. So let me just go ahead and get the other side. And there it goes. Yep. So let me set these guys to the side. All right. So now this guy can just pop that out. Now I say that. Will it cooperate with me? Probably not. So actually this is a little trick that you can use. You can use a bit like this to reach in and poke it out, or at least you would be able to do if the out of the inner one wasn't in place. Let me just go use this. So now I can reach inside of here and just, there it goes, pop it right out. Let's see, there's one, just sit out here. Now let's get from the other side. Now, again, I think this would be another time where my little flat edge will come in handy. Now this is kind of cool. If you look, I don't know if I can get the camera to see down in here very well, but if I can get the right angle, you can see that, you know, quality machining, the inside of the race is at the same diameter as the as everything. So everything coming through is nice and precision. So I can reach through here and poke that guy out. There he goes. Right. So let's just take a second and just do an inspection. Now these are, like I said, these are stock bearings. These guys have never been out. And Dizzy has had a kind of rough life. I didn't abuse them, but you know, I didn't necessarily baby them either. But I'm actually pretty impressed. I'm feeling through, and they feel nice, smooth action. They don't feel gritty or worn. So these are actually in very good condition. So, and let me just check this guy right here. Yeah, same type of thing. Nice and smooth. Now, and these are actually pretty well insulated where they are inside of these axles. So you don't really get a whole bunch of crud down there. However, that being said, you can get water in places. And even though these models are advertised as being waterproof or water resistant, if you abuse them to the point where the grease dries out and water gets inside of here, there's little ball bearings that are inside and they will corrode, and that will cause them to feel like sandpaper when you turn them, and that will cause you bad days. Okay, and actually, let me see something here, because this one right here actually feels like it might be a little bit clunky. So I'm just gonna get something a little bit, I can hold it down a little bit so I can get a little bit of resistance. Alright, so yeah, this guy doesn't feel as smooth as the other one did. Because you could just be how I'm holding it. No, I take that back. He's perfectly fine. Nice and smooth action. Really nice. Okay, so let's get that other larger bearing out. There we Now, I apologize if I'm not the most elegant at this. This is my first time doing it as well, you know. However, I've watched, you know, several videos with people doing this, and pardon the pun, it's not rocket science, but it is detail work, you know. So you want to make sure that when you do this stuff, you know, just take your time and pay attention to what you're doing. You know, keep track of where you're removing things from and where you're putting things back, and you'll be okay. Now, it's a little bit intimidating, but it's not too bad. All right, so actually, before I crack out the new bearings, let me just go ahead and get inside of here with the brush again, just to make sure everything's nice and clean. It's always a good idea to make sure that you have as much dirt and crud out of areas as possible, because dirt and crud have a way of getting in places, and then they make it so that things don't sit right, they don't fit right, and you know, they can just cause you grief. That's easily avoided. And I also have my little can of dust off, and just use that to spray down. Make sure that that's perfectly clear. Do this for the same side. I mean, these are just the extra little things. It only takes you a few seconds to do this, but you know, a few seconds here could save you, you know, a lot of grief later. Because if you're trying to squeeze things through and they don't fit because there's a little crud down in here, then you know, these few seconds would, you know, be really appreciated later on. All right, so now that that's done, let's go ahead and identify the bearings that go in this place. So let's look right here. Now this is a cute thing from Boca. They sent me this nice little mouse pad that happens to have all their bearing sizes on it. So let me adjust this right here. So I can look and I can see, and these are life size. So I can compare and say, okay, there we go. This is a 10 by 15 4mm. Okay, so now I can look in the pack that they gave me. And that looks like it. So now, let's pull these guys out. Well, more precisely, pull two of them out. That's not two. Okay, so now I can maneuver these guys back in from the inside. Like I said, there's one on the inside, one on the outside. They just slide right down in their space. And I'm going to use this guy right here to help seat it. It's the right diameter anyway. Okay, so I got that one in. Now let's go ahead and press the one on the outside. And this one, again using the little guide, it's a 5 by 10 by 4. Okay. Actually, no, 5 by 11 by 4. Okay. So on the kit, got a bunch of these guys. Let's go ahead and grab two more of these. Again, that's not two. There we go. So now I can press in this guy from the outside. Actually, I'll go ahead and just push both of them in since I'm here. So this one, just push it right down, slides right in. Now over here, same thing. Right here in the corner, push that guy right on in. There we go. Now I've got one more of the larger diameter for the inside. That guy just goes right here and slides it right on in. And again, I'm going to use this axle to just go ahead and push it down to make sure that it's properly seated. And perfect. All right, so that's in position. Now, while this is apart, this is also a good time to do some basic maintenance, because let me pull this back apart here. Now, you see on the slashes, you have these arms here. Now, these slide in and out. So you get them in position, and they just go in and out just like that. And if you kept these nice and clean, they'll slide nice and easy with no friction, no real sticking or anything like that. And mine are actually seem like they're in pretty good condition, pretty good shape. So they're going in and out nice and smoothly. But one little thing that you can do just to help things out is just put a little bit of lubricant on these shafts, so that as the suspension moves, they go in and out and they can bind. Now, as you're going in the dirt, now Dizzy hasn't seen dirt in a little while because he's in a street configuration, but he did start off as a basher configuration too. So as you go in and out, dirt gets inside of here and it can actually grind up, and it can essentially start to seize, and that can cause extra friction as you move around. So just a few drops of oil. Just help everything stay nice and lubricated. And the nice thing about this stuff is that it's actually an oil, it's a water and dirt repelling oil. So just work it in and out a little bit. So that would just help it to keep nice and free. And I'll go ahead and do the other side. Now this is definitely not something that you have to do. I don't actually see very many people doing this. But then again, I haven't been around the block as long as some people have. So, it's, again, this is just me being a little, taking an extra little step. So I figure that, every little bit helps. Now, granted, once you're at speed and sliding around, these axles are really not going to be seeing much wear from the sliding in and out perspective when you're doing speed runs. But if you have an off-road car and you're doing lots of jumps and everything, then this is definitely something you might want to think about doing. All right, so let's proceed. So I've got these guys done. So let me just go ahead and slide this back in. You know what? Actually, no, I'm going to continue with my teardown because I, of course, just realized, given the fact that I have to get out the differentials now, these just have to come off. So I probably could have saved myself a little initial effort by just pulling those off to begin with. But that's okay. This is a journey of, it's a voyage of discovery. And we're discovering together, everybody. All right. So let me go ahead and throw this up on the pit stand. Okay. So if you probably should have grabbed a flashlight just to make this a little bit easier for you guys in TV land to see. Light. Okay, so just to make things a little bit easier to see, way down in there, you can see that there is a little retaining screw that holds on the axles, or I should say holds on the axle hubs. If I was a thinking individual, then I probably would have just removed those to begin with to make life a little bit easier. But, not. So if you're doing the whole job like I'm doing, I probably should have just done that to begin with. But, if you're just changing the outer bearings, then that's, you can get away with doing it the cheater way. So let me just go ahead and set this light down. Pull this guy off. Let me see something. There we go. Now, so those of you who haven't taken off axles in these cars yet, so you've got, okay, I think I'm done. Yeah, you've got this little stud here that feeds through this retainer. And let's go ahead and I can pull this guy off now. There we go. So you've got the stud here that feeds all the way through, and it locks in with the threads right here at the top. So you don't really have to worry about, you know, as long as you get it into the hole, it's great. So I'm just going to go ahead and thread that in so I don't lose the part again. And then put this together. Okay. So like I said, I probably should have just done that initially, taken that off. Then I could have just pulled the thing out as a unit and then just slid it all out. But I like to make my life more difficult than it needs to be. So I might as well let you guys watch. All right, that goes to the side. So now I go over here to do the same thing. There it is. Okay, so see if I can move it so you guys can see. All right, so there's the clip or the retaining screw. Get it right down there. Pull this bad boy out. Ta-da. So now this dry shaft comes right out, and put this right back in. Now you might be asking yourself, why is this so oily in here? Well, I learned a little trick from one of the off-road shows I watch. Not that I'm an off-roader or anything, but for like full-scale, you know, off-roading, they recommended if you're going to be going out in the mud and dirt, spray stuff down with WD-40, because WD-40 is a water repellent, and that will actually it'll put a little film on all your stuff, but that film will keep water out, and that'll help chase away corrosion. So I did it, and as you can see, you know, Dissy's been out in a whole bunch of crud in a whole bunch of places all seasons, and I'm seeing very, very little corrosion, except for up here, but we'll get to that. All right, so now I've removed that, or should I say I removed the axles. So the next step is just go ahead and pull off the differential housing.